it would be incumbent, it would be remiss of us if we talk about how we feel about it and not allow the leaders to also voice their opposition to it. And they did. We have to be honest, they did. At the South African Development Community meeting, SADC, the leaders unanimously pushed back against the idea of sanctions on Africa. And they also said, yes, they were going to table it. I mean, they passed a motion at the meeting to table another motion at the AU, the forthcoming AU meeting, so that idea will be discussed. But here's the curious thing. Only one person pushed back against that motion. Guess who?
Uganda?
Yeah, I know the guy. I know the guy is.
I
refer to him as a CIA asset, but don't tell me
the forever president.
Don't tell me he went that far.
Yes, he did. Everyone got up and said.
All right, so now, because sometimes I think when I tell
I have
people
no agenda against you, brother.
No, when I tell people how nasty this guy really is, sometimes people may have doubt. I think now there can be no doubt after what you just give us as an exclusive.
He was
only African.
He was the literally
all 54 African.
No, not 54. Yeah, the South African Development. He is the Southern. So it's a regional body.
Okay.
But of that regional body, in sitting, he was the only one who pushed back.
Okay, but listen, this is the only African, and I hesitate to call him even president, I call him dictator, the only African ruler who, after Donald Trump said, call Africa an S-hole collection of countries. He, and people who think this is incredible, you can research it, Google it, and you'll see it. He said, I love Donald Trump.
Yeah.
For saying that.
Yeah. Google
it and you'll see it on CNN, BBC. It was all over the place.
Good question for Museveni is, what are you doing to not make your country a shithole?
Yeah. But back to you, brother. We're running out of time.
So, yeah. For me, one of the most powerful statements during that meeting was made by the Malawian president, Lazarus Chakwera. And he said, Africa is not for sale. Africa is open for business and not for looting. We must defend what is ours and make sure that no one takes from us what is ours.
I want to hear that more of that kind of talk.
Could you say that one more time? Read that one more time, brother. Just so deep, like take your time with that.
He said, okay, this was the statement made at that meeting by the Malawian president, Lazarus Chakwera. Africa is not for sale. Africa is open for business, not for sale or looting. We must defend what is ours and make sure that no one takes from us what is ours.
Exactly.
So it's, if you have leaders like this,
but it's good because I like what we're doing, because we're exposing the fact that there's some rulers who should not be ruling African countries
at all.
And that, once again, this is where people start seeing value of Kumbukeni. Today, and I'll let you come back and close again, but I wanted people not to miss the point. We've had exclusive revelations in today's program. The new Berlin conference, you shared that exclusive with the world, but with your co-host as well. The SADC vote, you shared that exclusive. And, we know that not every African has Africa.
I'm looking forward to those African drums. Right? Go ahead.
You shared that with our global audience and with your co-host today. Listeners, there's value in Kumbukeni. Brother, go ahead and close.
And the host, Cyril Ramaphosa, then said this. He said, the U.S. State Department and the White House should support negotiations between Kiev and Moscow, which has been routinely undermined by Biden and his cabinet ministers.
And I bet you this was not reported in the New York Times or the Washington Post or CNN or even BBC.
No.
You see?
No.
And Ramaphosa, by the way, for some listeners, this is the president of South Africa.
South Africa, yes. South Africa.
Who is currently under investigation, which might tie into this?
Cyril Ramaphosa, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So this is what happens when African presidents speak up.
Who was it that said it? What's his name? If Sekiture, he says, when you hear them scream my name, shout my name, you should know that I have sold you out.
When you hear an African president being villainized, you should ask yourself, what did they do right that is upsetting these imperialists?
I mean, the way he said it, he said, if you hear them praise me, be rest assured I have sold you out.
Yeah. It means it's time to get rid of me.
So, brother Adesoji, are you saying to our African leaders, our African brothers and sisters, because we do have both male and female leaders in Africa, are you saying to them that it is better to be criticized by imperialists than to be, to be complimented as far as being a good leader for your nation?
I am saying it is 2023. It is the 21st century. You have no reason to kowtow to any foreign power for anything. If they don't want you, you're already president of your country. You will get a retirement pension. You will have a house. You will have access to food. That is all man needs. You don't need to drive a Tesla on the streets of Africa. There is no point to it.
The other thing too, as far as empowering our people, is Africa can do trade within Africa. If indeed Europe and the US and China economies are being held by Africa, why doesn't Africa hold its own economy itself?
That is the subject of a whole show.
Sure, right? Exactly. I will preface,
and it must be because
yes.
She mentioned a good point. Within amongst themselves, Europe trade is over 80% of their trade, right? Is accounted by trade with other Europeans. Mm-hmm. Africa trade amongst other Africans, less than 17% of the total trade. So it's outrageous, and that we should actually plan a program.
Would we call that intra-African trade?
That's what we need. And but sister, that's not by accident. Before engagement with Europe, the most sophisticated trade routes are within Africa. Mm-hmm. So at some point, the intra-Africa trade was actually almost 100%. Yeah. So they came and they disrupted the organic pattern and said, stop trading amongst yourselves. I want you now to grow cocoa for me and trade with me.
My peoples are known, the Akamba people are known to be long distance traders. They would walk all the way to Mombasa to trade.
We're going to do a whole show about that. But brother, before you give the final word, I like the point that you brought up Sekou Touré. And for our new listeners who may not be familiar, he was the first leader of Guinea. And he was the only leader of the French dependencies and colonies who, when given the option for all the people and leaders there to vote, yes, to remain as colonies, or no, to separate and become independent, the only one who voted no, and it was punished. They unscrewed even the light bulbs. They tore the electric cables from the stores.
They poured everything. They poured concrete down, water pipes,
took it back to France to punish him. So I'm glad we're evoking these names.
Pettiness.
And when we evoke them, we want to, bring a little bit of their character too.
Yes.
Which also took me to, as you're speaking, I'm thinking Thomas Sankara, of course.
Oh,
more people know about Thomas Sankara, but I don't know if most know that he was invited to the White House.
Yes.
And at that time, I think Ronald Reagan was the president.
Ronald Reagan was president, yes.
On condition that the U.S. embassy officials would read his speech that he was going to make at the United Nations.
Imagine that.
Before.
Can you imagine if an African president said that? Oh, right. Biden is coming to Kenya.
Let's read your speech first.
Can we read your speech first before you present it?
And he said, no, He refused. So the invitation withdrawn.
But where did
Now,
he go to
this
give the
is
speech,
a
though?
courageous African leader.
Brother Limadi, could you add, where did Sankara go to give his speech?
He went to Harlem.
Yes.
And he said, my White House is in Black Harlem.
And what was his opening statement at the UN? I
wait for you to drop that.
I bring you greetings from 7 million men, women, and children who have refused to die.
That's a great
comrade.
ending.
I don't think you can add anything better
That's
than that.
That's a great closing.
I think we should close the program.
Yes.
On that note, any final words from you, comrade? Because sister needs to close with another pitch.
I do.
Kumbukeni.
I do need to call people to action. Yes.
Before she does, you go ahead.
Yes. For our listeners in the United States, call, text, ring your senator to say this is unacceptable. They should revisit the bill and repeal it before it becomes law.
Thank you. Excellent. I can't add anything to that. I think listeners, the only thing I can say that I'm sure you learned 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 new things in today's episode. That's why we encourage you to come back every week to really share with us and listen to us. And also, of course, to communicate by posting your chats and comments.
Yes.
Now all to you, sister, so you can.
And now, yes, our biggest call for support right now is for subscription on our YouTube channel. We are going for that 1,000 subscribers. We have hit 197 as of yesterday. We're hoping to get to 1,000 soon. So we ask you all to support us so that we can do this work. We can give more time to the research and discovery of what is going on in Africa by subscribing to Kumbukeni's YouTube channel at youtube.com/@Kumbukeni1. Again, that's youtube.com/@Kumbukeni1. All right. Kwaherini. Siku njema.
A luta continua, as Samora Machel used to say in